Park Sanitary District monthly meeting to order the month of September. We're going to start off with roll call. I'm Rich Stork, and I hold the chair.
I'm Dean Fundell, part of the board.
Matt Anderson, board member.
Al Powers, board member.
Sue Means, board member.
Tina Heidelberger, secretary clerk.
All right, next order of business is approval of the minutes. We didn't really have a chance, all of us, to see the minutes from last month. So we're gonna kind of call an audible, and what we'll do is, I think we'll take a look at them via email, and then we'll approve them by email, and then we'll go ahead and get those posted in the various positions. We'll post them up at the pump house, and then Matt will get them up on the website so everybody can see those. One thing that was brought to my attention by Matt and Chris Ziegler, that's an assistance program we're working with now for various things. It's an organization that it's a nonprofit organization that helps small organizations like ours. What he did mention is once we do approve the minutes, they should be signed. It makes it more official, especially when we're sending out documents for other government agencies, like for grants and so on and so forth. So one of the procedures he'd like us to start is to actually get them notarized and signed by the chairperson or whoever's running the meeting. I've asked Tina to go ahead and try to get her notary so we can kind of take care of all that business ourselves. And how is that process going?
Good, they cashed my check, so I know they got it, so.
Good.
Where's your stamp?
I don't have it yet,
So
so.
basically our clerk Tina is gonna be able to notarize the stuff that we need to notarize. So we'll call that audible and we'll get those minutes approved and we'll get those posted. Next we're gonna move right into our wastewater operator update, and our operator is on hand. His name is Terry Peterson with LLJ Wastewater Management. And what he does is he kind of gives us an update of the status of our sewer system. That's basically why we're here. He'll be giving us information on what kind of our daily flows are, monthly flows, because we are regulated by the MPCA. We have a permit that kind of gives us those values and those amounts that we can operate under. So first thing I asked Terry for is, why don't you give us an update of what kind of influence we've kicked out to our ponds and our wastewater plant.
Total flow for August was 338,470 gallons.
Can you say that one more time?
338,470.
Thank you so much.
The average is 10,918 a day. The high was actually, or the low was actually the 20th and the 21st at 9140 per day. And the high was on the 5th at 1463.
And we're allowed, per our permit, a maximum of 15,000 per day. So we've been underneath all those numbers. Even with all that rain, that's pretty good
That's
indication.
staying pretty good, yeah.
Do you have anything else to update us on? How was that permit process? So we're in the process of getting our permit updated with the MPCA. Terry's been working hard with the MPCA, and we've actually got a new representative person to help us clear that up, the information that we needed to provide for them. And what's the status of that now,
From
Terry?
what I've heard from Lou, which she's a gal that's coming to MPCA Thursday afternoon for 2 hours to my place to go through some of the recording stuff and make sure everything's done. Because it changed on the regulation, she said the permit's about half done.
Okay.
So we had to get a few things out of the way on that. And yeah, she said, looked good so far. Just changed some stuff. And I did like everybody else did, bitched about how their the reporting the site is. She just laughed. She said, I know. That's the first thing everybody said.
And
But it's absolutely horrible to try to upload and download stuff into that thing. But
so some of our information just basically got lost in transition. We're going to update that for the year,
Yep.
get that closed
Yep.
and back up into shape. So the Shorewood Park Sanitary District is basically with the MPCA, we will be updating our permit every 5 years. That's typical cycle. So the last time our permit was updated was in 2015, and that took us to 2020, 2019, 2020, I believe. In that process, where we should have updated it at that time, that's when the talk about the expansion came in. So with the process of going forward with this expansion and trying to pull the expansion through, they kind of gave us a waiver on our permit. And we've been going through this expansion process, meaning we're going to take on some more homes into our sanitary district. And that process is still going. It kind of waived us until like even up to here 2024. But they kind of put their foot down the last few months and said, no, we need to, put a dot and cross the T's on our permit. And then if the expansion goes through, we'll amend it depending on it, where it sits in that 5-year cycle. So we're updating our permit and actually getting a good working permit for the time being. So that's all good process or progress, Terry. I appreciate that. So hopefully by the next month or so, we should have that permit.
I'm hoping, yeah. We did transfer, I did transfer over the weekend, so.
You started transferring, and when he's talking about transferring, we have 2 ponds up there. They were primary and secondary, right?
Yep.
So you started to move influent sewage from the primary to the secondary pond, right? And we do that because,
It's full.
and we do that twice a year.
Twice a year, yeah. And sometimes if we have to, we can do it again, but ideally we can do it twice a year. We try to transfer enough, but we'll transfer enough this fall now to make it through till next spring. But I'll probably transfer a little bit more in before I actually discharge. I'll probably discharge right. I'm going to be gone the end of the month for a week, so I'll probably discharge right before I leave.
Okay. So typically we say we're putting our ponds. In our ponds, we have 2 ponds that we operate with. That's our treatment plant. So we kind of put it to rest for the winter time. So we transfer it. Most of our sewage and everything goes into that primary pond and sits there, and the treatment process starts there in that primary pond, and then secondary pond, and then the discharge. Is there any questions on that? All right, that sounds good. Terry, any PMs other than that this month?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to pull the pumps probably, if not this weekend, next weekend, and check them all out for the winter.
Okay.
Make sure they're where they're supposed to be. And when I was down Saturday transferring stuff, I just kind of looked around checking stuff. So.
Okay, yeah, looks good. Or sounds good. So typically you check pumps twice a year, right? Spring and fall?
Yep. Yep. And then I don't know if we get to it this weekend. I got quite a bit planned for this weekend. But is it get that brush hogged out to there and see if we can get to that before we get it. Depends on how much rain we get Thursday. If we get a bunch of rain, then I probably won't be able to get to it.
Okay, and I'll kind of mention that in my report as far as the chairman goes, and I'll move right into the chairman update. So this month, my main focus really has been working with Dean and Chris Ziegler from MAP and gathering information on the expansion. And I'll kind of let Dean kind of fill you guys in on what's been going on. We did get some pretty good news on the grant this month for that expansion. I was pretty excited. It was kind of I was really kind of excited to get it. Kind of, I don't know how I want to say it. We've been
A little progress.
was progress, and it kind of solidifies that we actually do have a grant, right? We actually heard from the EPA who is providing us the grant, and they kind of justified or reiterated that, yes, the grant is theirs, it's ours, but there are some steps that we have to complete, and they were pretty specific on those steps that need to be completed, but at least it kind of tells us we're going in the right direction. We have completed some of those steps already, so we'll work with MAP and we'll kind of focus in on that here in the next couple months with some expansion meetings.
Right, it looks like we probably have at least a meeting with somebody, whether it's over the internet or in person, I don't know for sure. We may have to do that. And then also we have to do some training on how we're going to follow through with our process.
So really that information I think came late last week. And again, I was quite excited that that information did get to us in our hands. It really kind of tells us that we're moving in the right direction there. So we'll continue to update everybody on how that expansion is going, but I think it's moving in the right direction, for sure. Well, one other thing, I did get up to the ponds this last week, and with Matthew, we did clear up that road and open up the road a little bit for Terry and his equipment to get back there. Cleaned up the brush and the canopy. And what he was mentioning with the brush hog is the road that goes out to the ditch where we discharge hasn't been cleaned up for a couple of years, so it's all grown over. So during discharge, we have some manholes that go out there, and they're all covered, and it's really hard to even understand where manholes are right down in the ditch. So he's gonna clean that road out, clean that up as we, go into the fall and kind of open us up. One of the PMs we keep talking about and we've received some bids on is actually cleaning that ditch and where we discharge into the ditch. We still haven't, cleaned that up yet. One other thing I did talk to Terry about is he mentioned he had a bid together to kind of raise around the pond a little bit. I was going to bring that information in and kind of digest that a little bit this week, but I don't have that information with me right now either, so we'll have to bring that up also. So I think
You see what I meant by it though, right?
Yep.
That's pretty obvious.
Yeah, there's a couple low spots around the primary pond, I think is what Terry's mentioning. You can kind of see where water looks like it's almost touching the road. I think if he would have waited another couple of weeks, we probably would have been over the road in those locations. So he wants to bring up the edges of that pond a little bit, which makes a lot of sense. So I think it's something that we should move on, but we'll bring that up in one of the following meetings. So that's basically what I have for the chairman update. I think is there any questions on any of that information that I kind of shared with everybody?
How do you do that raising? Is that done with fill, or do you build like a wall or what?
Yeah, we'll just add to the existing bed that's there and just bring it up. We'll probably have to put some crackers along the edge. We talked to the engineer from MPCA.
Oh.
He said just give him a plan of what we're going to do, and he didn't see no problem with it ever. So yeah, so basically going to bring it up. I think it was 6 inches on one side, and on the secondary pond, I think it was 8 inches or something like that. And it's with the water level, you can pick it out right away.
Yeah. So basically the ponds are just a clay pool pond basically, and you're just going to raise the edges with clay and then extend the liner so it can hold more water. Basically, it's almost like a pool. If you push on one side of it, the water can kind of go over.
I don't ever want to see it go over.
Then you have some explaining to do.
I had a question about the missing information on the EPA grant. I mean, is that information that you have, you just have to fill in the blanks, or is there like
Well,
engineering that has to be done?
As far as information that we have given them, I don't think we're really missing anything. There's some additional steps. They would like to see a budget, which we've created a rough budget at the beginning of the year. Jeff, I think you were at that meeting particularly, so they kind of want to see our budget. They want to know how we would have to present to them what we're going to do for the shortfall, what kind of funding that we're going to get. Because 1.9, based on that budget, we realized with the expansion group, we were about 500,000 short, right? What kind of financing or options that we have. So there's some work that has to be done. I can share that information with you if you want it, to kind of pinpoint some of the things. Some of the boxes we've already checked though. And that was connecting with, I think it's SAM Government, that's their portal that we have to get into to prove that we are an entity and that the money and funding can come to us. And that's where we had a lot of struggle. We didn't have an address, we had a PO box, we had a lot of issues with the bill. We only had one bill that we can have. So every time we got to something, there was another hurdle just to get to that point. So it wasn't easy even to get to that point. And I think our approach of us taking it on with the expansion was the right approach, because if we would have put that into HR Green's hands, every time they do something, it costs us, $300 an hour. So it maybe took us a little bit longer, but I think with us, attempting to go through that with that assistance, I think we saved a lot of money that potentially would have ended up on the backs of the expansion people too. So there are still some steps. The group is still going to have to get together. We're still going to have to talk about, budgeting, how we're going to budget it, but, I think the classes that have to be taken, basically, it tells how to handle the funds and what you do with the funds and how you pay out the funds. So they're basically teaching us to handle that grant money in the correct way to do that. So that's kind of the boxes that we have to check and put a plan together to accept that money, put it in where we're gonna put it, and then learn how to distribute it to contractors and so on and so forth. So those are some of the things that have to happen with the expansion. So I think it's time, again, for the expansion group to get together and figure out how we're gonna accomplish those things. You know, we were hoping to have all that accomplished by this time, or even possibly digging by this fall, but it's looking more like now, probably into next year, before the construction would even begin. So that's where we are with that information. And, you know, maybe what I'll do is, I really got to digest it and look at it. There was a lot of information there, and it came right before the weekend, and I haven't had a chance to look at it. Dean, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it either.
I read through it, and like I said, we might have to do some training and
Yeah.
have a meeting, but it just said meeting, so I don't know if that meant in person with some of these people or not, but it was something a little different.
We do have a representative and a name of a person, which is huge, which we never had before. So we do have a rep that we're actually working with, which is, and she's there to help us. So that was all positive steps in the right direction. Any other questions? All right, I think the next step is moving into our financial updates.
Right. As of today, our current checking account balance was $71,170.93. We've not received a new investment fund update since the last meeting that we had. So currently, our investment fund balance is sitting at $215,409.08 with a cash value balance of $27,949. There will be a budget that will be posted as well that's updated through the 1st of September. Any questions about that information?
When do we typically set up our yearly budget meeting to set for the following year?
September, because we want to approve it at the October meeting
Okay, so.
for the fiscal year, the next fiscal year, so.
So basically, we should pick a date for this month in September and set up a budget meeting.
Correct.
We're basically gonna decide, you know, how to spend our monies for the year. So more people that can be involved in that budget meeting is, you know, that'll help. And I don't really see us changing the budget and the funds too much different from the way that we have it kind of laid out.
I think things have gone really well this year. I don't think we have any financial concerns whatsoever. We have a lot of money in our checking account, which is a refreshing feeling. And things are functioning well, and all the additions that we made to the neighborhood are great. I think all is well, as far as I'm concerned.
I think there's only one additional budget issue that I think that we may need to kind of build into the existing budget, because if you follow the track, we're really kind of right on line the way that we laid it out last year, would be the treatment for phosphorus. We would probably have to start setting some funds away for that. And we can bring that up, and I think we talked that would be somewhere between, you know, roughly $5,000 a year. That might be just a matter of moving some monies around to create that budget. I think that's the only additional cost that I see.
Yep, when I'm looking, just for example, we had a proposed budget, working budget of $114,756. As of today, we've spent $76,757.68. Now, there's still almost 5 months left of the year, but there's obviously things that we'll have to move around, things that we've spent more in, areas that we weren't planning to, but, you know, things have come up that obviously there's a need for it. So, but that's the good thing about, in the past, we've never had a budget, just for anybody who doesn't know this, we've never had a budget. So this has allowed us, this is technically only our second year with having a budget, where we actually have data to go back and look and see where we've been spending money, because before, when we created our original budget, we had no idea. We had no idea what we were spending, just unless if we were looking back at the checking account and seeing that way. So this has allowed us to kind of earmark things for certain projects or certain areas. So it's been a positive thing overall for the district.
All right, any questions on budget? What was the budget meeting? We kind of jumped out with new business on the agenda, but I think it, good place to cover it, budget reviews. All right, I'm going to move on to presentations of the bills for the month of August.
East Central Energy is an automatic debit from our account. Our bill this past month was $180.38. LJJ wastewater was $1,700, and I have that bill, as well as a bill from Rasmussen Services, which is $1,308.47. So I'll pass those down for signature.
Is that for your twice?
Yep, so if you look here, so when I took the budget, I actually broke it out on the budget, mowing for the parks versus mowing for the ponds. So for example, this past month, we spent $828.87, which is what's going to be approved tonight. That's mowing for the parks. And then for the ponds, we spent a total of $479.60. Last month, we spent $719.40 on mowing at the ponds, and then $1,030.02. So we fluctuated. Our high was $1,384. Our lowest has been this month at $828.87 for mowing at the parks, that is.
So Tina, the mowing at the park, was that older, that more expensive one for July? Were we still doing more mowing than was supposed to be done?
Yes, they were mowing every week, and they shouldn't have been, and there was a miscommunication.
Okay.
So the month of August, they cut it back to every other week, so that's,
Okay.
and I think, I don't, anybody think that the grass is too long? I think it's actually a decent length, and I haven't really heard anything from anybody about it. What do you guys think?
It seemed okay at our night out thing.
Yep, I think it's been getting taken care of, what it needs to be getting taken care of.
Excellent, that's great. That's what we promised everybody, was that every other week, because we didn't want that bill to creep too high.
Yep.
Can I get a motion to approve the bills?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so next on the agenda was the old business, and that was expansion. I think we kind of covered the expansion pretty hard and heavy on where we're at. We know we have some more work to do with it and some upcoming meetings. I'll work with Dean and MAP MAP, which is Chris Ziegler and Becky, to try to start moving that forward.
And I was just going to read a response. I emailed Chris from MAP last week, and he responded. He said, sorry for the delay. I think Sam registration is mostly done, waiting for Cage to review the info that Rich sent back. I need to do some work in grants.government yet, hopefully next week. I think we will get approval for the funds this fall, and then engineering can commence and hopefully construction next summer. That's the first part of this, that basic information from him. So that I just received this week, Friday.
And I did get a response from Tim Corby, who also got the response from that same at EPA, and he wanted to know how we were processing and what we were doing with it, and I kind of passed that information on to him. So
Okay.
he was up and excited for that letter also. Tim Corby is our engineer, HR Green. So he's the other team member we've been working with heavy on that expansion. New business.
Can we go back to,
Sure.
Steve wanted to share about neighborhood night out?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Our night out, we held on a Friday night instead of the usual Tuesday night, just because we had our meeting and a lot of the guests that we invited went to other places on National Night Out. And so we did it Friday, and including our guests, we had 51 adults. And the kids were all over the place, so it was hard to count, but I'd say about 20 kids. So, and they all had a nice time, the fire department. Were you guys able to attend? Okay, we had the fire department there, a big fire truck. Oh, and Terry donated a bouncy house, which was the hit. And thank you, Terry, for doing that. That was very nice, very well received. And then we had Rush Lake Improvement Association showed up, and the mayor showed up.
Well,
Yeah, so it was well attended, and they stuck around for, if anybody had any questions or answers, and, I think everybody had enough to eat. We did have some leftover food, and what we did is donated the chips and the buns that were left over to food shelf. And then I have hot dogs in my freezer that had been cooked and sat in a thing. And I contacted Passionate Pines Wildlife Rehabilitation in Pine City, and they will take them for their raccoons.
oh, that's,
So, even though that was leftovers, it went to great use, and that was very nice for the board to approve that.
thank you.
So, yeah, I'm looking for next year. It should be fun.
Yeah.
If anybody has ideas or wants to help next year, I'll be sending out something. Tina will.
I just wanted to jump in there. I just wanted to, for the board, on behalf of the board, thank you to the fire department. Thank you to Mayor, Rush City Mayor Alan Johnson. Thank you to the Rush Lake Improvement Association. Thank you Sue Means and Carrie Fairclough for setting this party up. I'd also like to thank Andy Shannon for his work in the park area, because the party took place there and it was nice and clean, and no danger of falling trees, which was fantastic. I also wanted to thank Terry from LLJ for the bounce house, it's awesome, and Rick and Lisa Wright for supplying the electric for that bounce house. Nice.
You didn't
So-
hear how much that was.
So yeah, it was very successful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sue, again for headlining that.
I think it's a real plus for our community. A lot of people probably didn't know who the mayor was, not only our immediate community, but Rush City as well. And I think, even people mingled a little, and older residents came back and attended. Millie Peters, I don't know if you knew her,
Oh, nice.
a longtime resident, came back and saw friends, and so it was very nice. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you very much, Sue, for that. And team members, I'm sorry I missed it that night.
Well,
You can't make everything.
I have one more bit of old business that we discussed at the last meeting. There was some confusion about the Roundup being sprayed out, and I just want to assure our neighbors that the person that is out there spraying the Roundup on the 2 acres was given permission by us this time last year. And the person that had been brought to my attention was not that person that we approved to spray the field, although I was trying to leave the conversation in a neutral setting, and some of the things that were said could be construed for that person, Joe Heidelberger. So I just want to apologize on behalf of the board that there was confusion, that we meant Joe, who we were speaking about. That was not Joe. We thank Joe for spraying that plot of land for us. And if there is discussion about how we want to use that plot of land, we can do that tonight or some other time. But at the time, just for clarification, the 2 acres was not going to be farmed. So we went ahead and said, yeah, let's just take care of the weeds, let's spray the Roundup, whatever. But it's come to our attention that some residents may want to farm on that land. So if that is the case, and we are going to move forward doing that, we should research the implications of using that Roundup and how long we need to let the land sit, or what we need to do to the land to make the soil a little bit more favorable for folks that may be on the side of organic farming, non-chemical use farming. So that'll be a discussion we can have now or into the future.
Well, are there any other ideas other than, I think, for that 2 acres, I think if you want, or if you have an idea on how to use that 2 acres, I think the place would start would be to submit an idea.
I agree.
Website, and then we can open up conversation on an idea per idea, I think is probably the best way to approach that. Because we really don't have a plan for the 2 acres.
No, not yet.
No.
That's in the corner of the big field?
Yes.
I've seen, I have 80 acres just north.
Mhm.
So I did 3 2-acre food plots this year. And when he says Roundup, that's what I use for those food plots. I mean, Roundup is supposed to evaporate after a certain amount of time. It's not supposed to go into the ground. So they say,
Okay.
you know, and then I also have a 6-foot tiller that sits on my Bobcat that I tilled it all up with and did it that way with a Bobcat, a planter, and so on and so forth. I think having that as a garden for individual, I think that's a great idea. I just don't know about how else you could kill the existing.
Foliage and.
Yeah, I mean, the roots are so deep, you know, in that area, because it's been a field for so long, you got to get to the roots somehow, and I don't know how you could do that naturally.
And it's
I'll
close
probably
to
be
the
looking at
other area there, that's not, the weeds aren't controlled there, so you're gonna have crossover
Yeah.
from that also, so that's gonna be another concern too.
Yes, yeah, you know, I just jumped right across there, yeah. I
So is
planted red clover and I got with weeds. You know, I got a lot of red clover too, but the
Yeah.
weeds took over after a certain amount of time.
So as far as farming goes and maintaining or any kind of maintenance, we did kind of lean on Joe for that expertise because, you know, he grew up a farmer also. And I think we did approve the Roundup and quite frankly, I believe there was several applications. We still may have applications available based on the product we bought. Is that true, Tina?
Yep, yep.
So I guess what we need to just, we probably, I would make a motion that we continue to treat that property at this particular point in time, just to maintain that area until we do come up with a plan. Otherwise, it is gonna continue to grow and go crazy. So I guess I would look for a motion to continue to treat that with the product we bought last year.
A motion to continue.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. All right, new business, let's see, MPCA permit update, we covered that. The budget meeting is set for September 24th. The last bit of business, and Tina, I didn't bring this up last meeting, but you had mentioned to me about a state audit that
Correct.
we've been missing over since the transition from the old board to the new board.
So it's been submitted. It was an online, basically a website through the state that I had to access and submit our spending over that. So they're just looking at what's been spent, had to submit the financial reports from our accountant. I haven't heard anything back yet, so,
No news is good news.
well, possibly, yes. So I'm sure that it'll take time to get a response, but it was successfully uploaded to the state, so I didn't get any kind of rejection or anything, so.
And this is a process that should be going on yearly?
Yearly, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And it was something that we were not aware of, or that information wasn't passed on to us?
The information, the emails, and the information is being mailed and emailed to the past chairman. So the information wasn't being passed along to us. And when the state reached out to me, when the auditor reached out to me, it was actually that Chisago County had reached out. They had come across Wendy's name, Wendy Cook, who was our previous secretary, in something. It wasn't an official document. They came across her phone number and found her that way. And then she provided my contact information, so.
Did we have to go back and create information from the years that were missed?
Correct, yep. So I had to go back 2 years. So for 2022 and 2023, I'll have to do 2024 at the year end. But, so I had to submit for 22 and 23.
Tim, do you remember that ever being brought up?
No, I
back in the
don't.
day? Neither do I.
I don't remember it at all.
No.
Yeah, so that was a surprise to me also. So a couple of us were on the previous board, and that was information that was never but we weren't even aware of, so it was something that was done behind the scenes, I guess, in the past. Just something else we had to clean up. That would be it for new business. Is there anything else anybody else wants to talk about?
Yes.
Yes.
I would like, just to touch base on what's happening with the channel. Tony from Waterworks has been working with the DNR. The DNR wants the process shown to them because they've never had that type of a process done in that quantity or large amount, on our lakes. So the DNR and the waterworks person, he's supposed to be, when he goes and does the type of work he'll be doing for us, contact the DNR so they can come and observe it. And what that is it sucks the muck up and it blows it out on wherever, but it has to be silt fenced or it has to be land above the water, so it doesn't run down high ground and it can't go back into the channel. Well, there has been those opportunities for the DNR to go to a job that he has had set up, but when Tony goes to ask the customer, we'd like the DNR would like to observe and see how the process is done. Usually the person says, no, I don't want the DNR to come and observe. And that's their property and that's their right. But it really affects us where we're just like treading, water. We're just waiting and talking about the 2 acres. One of the ideas was to suck all that muck up, blow it over into those 2 acres. And then we wouldn't have to, we would silt fence part of it because we don't want it running into the other owner's property. So we're just kind of, in fact, I just seen an email, a correspondence between Tony, the waterworks person, and the DNR, and he wanted to go to the boat landing and just suck out some muck. And the DNR said, no, that's not what they need to see. They need more. So that's where it's sitting. And I told them, I sent a message to both of them, and I said, the Shorewood Sanitation District needs to see a written plan for the work in order for those 2 acres to be used. And I think it would be great to have all that rich muck on there before you plant, and we're coming up on it's been 2 years since we started it, and fall is around the corner. We wanted to start it October. That was what it was going to be done last year, and it didn't get approved by DNR by the time they were ready to do the process. So we're kind of just been stagnant for.
So is the ball in the contractor's hands still?
Yes.
Tony?
Mm-hmm.
And he's just sitting on it, or is he doesn't want, all this time he could at least do the paperwork of putting a plan together.
Yes, and I
for the
mentioned
next
that
process.
about 2 or 3 times, saying maybe his wife Shannon could do it. But I suppose if we
The
don't.
DNR has asked him to do that
Yeah,
also,
mhm,
so it's
yeah.
not just us yet.
Yeah, so, what I would like to do now that, it's past, the summer and holidays, and get a group of us together again, of those who are interested still in the project, and discuss where we go. We cannot say we don't want it done, because then that's us just saying, forget it, and not getting our deposit back. But if the DNR doesn't approve it, we can't get it done.
So it sounds like they're struggling with writing that plan. Is there any reason why your working committee group can't write that plan for the contractor and get that ball rolling?
Because I don't know all the, how many feet of hose he's going to use, what type of coupling, how detailed do we need it?
Well, basically, if I was to write a plan, we kind of got an idea what you're going to do, right? And you kind of know the general idea. You could kind of fill in the amounts. Basically, you kind of know the steps, right? You have to weed it first, right? You have to depending on where the silt fences are gonna go, we have to, depending on where he's gonna set up and do the process. He's gonna set up in the corner by you, and he's gonna, work the muck from that area and pipe it up. I mean, you could almost write the process for it and have him verify it, just so the neighborhood kind of knows what the
I
plan
know.
is, so.
It's very frustrating.
Right, so I don't know, typically, it doesn't have to be that complicated.
Well, what do you need? Like, we had kind of discussed that, like, if the hose goes across the road and someone runs over it and it breaks.
Well, right,
Yeah,
so I mean,
like that.
typically you want to protect yourself from any failures, right?
Yes.
So if you're gonna pump it from one of the actual lower area channels, and you have to go up the hill just to get to where where we're gonna set the muck up in the 2 acres, whose yard is the hose gonna go through, right?
Oh.
What are you gonna do to protect if that hose breaks, right? It starts shooting muck all over. That'd be one of the things you gotta talk about, just mitigating anything that can go wrong. So now the hose is gonna go across the road. What kind of barriers are you gonna put up across the road? Are we gonna have, redirect traffic
Yeah.
during that process? So, I mean, just think about it step by step, and then just think about any way that you're gonna mitigate anything that could possibly go wrong, right? What if a hose breaks? What are you gonna do? Well, the step is I'm gonna shut the pump down and try to contain the muck mess real quick, and then get a new hose in and start again. So you just kind of have to work through the plan process. And basically what I gotta do then is we have to present it to the neighborhood so they understand what's going on and why we're doing that, right? Because not everybody's on the channel, although it does benefit the whole park and it makes our neighborhood just that much more valuable. The people that aren't on, particularly on the channels, they're not always privy to all the information. So basically then we look at the plan and say, yeah, it looks like a great plan, yeah, go ahead and do it. And we decide as a collective board that we can move forward with that process. So
The other thing is, even before all that, is 2 acres enough? And how much
I
square
did ask
footage do
him
you
that, and he
need?
said yes.
It is.
Plus, I also talked to Jeff, up on the corner.
yeah.
Joel?
Furtick. No, that's.
Joel Freeberg.
Oh, Joel.
Freeberg, I was thinking about the wetlands guy. And he said, yeah, and he showed us where we could put it, and it wouldn't run back down because it's up and then kind of.
You mean coming from that side and pumping it from that side of the channel. So I mean, you got 2 places you're gonna pump it, from Joel's and then probably from up by your place, right, and up that hill.
There actually might be 3, Rich. They don't think they can pump from way down where the east channel comes into Shorewood.
Okay.
So from the down by Rich and Cully and
Yeah.
and back, I don't know how, like, was it 5 or 7 houses, something like that.
Yeah.
They're not sure what to do with that piece.
Well,
Well, would they pump that into trucks and then bring it up and dump it?
well, in
Wow.
conversation, Rich had said that he could pump it into, his and that neighbor lady. So see, that's why you have to have a meeting, because we need
Yeah.
to finalize all that information.
So I think
Yes,
it'd be
yeah.
basically, you just have the basic plan,
Mhm.
and then you're gonna have to have the values of how much spoil is gonna go up on that 2 acre lot. I don't think based on, because he should be able to tell you, well, based on what I've taken up in the past, this is how much we're gonna pull out of there.
Mhm.
This is how much is gonna go up into 2 acres. Once it dries out, it dries up and it compacts into just black dirt anyways.
Yeah, the thing, if it isn't up on Highland, if it's like down by, Rich, they have to silt fence that. And then that has to be removed.
So
Well,
basically
we
that's, right, so that'd sit on the yards,
Yeah.
dry out, and then you'd have to move it.
Yeah.
That'd be part of the plan.
Yeah.
And then when you're gonna move it, you're gonna truck it up there and dump it into the 2 acres after it's all the wet has kind of deteriorated, so.
And do we want to silt fence, or do we want to use the pillows and put them up?
Well, see, that's exactly it. So I mean, you guys could only, it sounds like you've already talked about it, and you already have a plan.
I could do it myself if I knew, but I don't.
Well, a plan, it's simple, it's just a step by step that we could understand and pass on to everybody, and just so the neighborhood has an opportunity
Yes.
to voice their opinion. That's really all we're looking at. As far as, the technical information, that should come to Tony. Quite frankly, like I said, as a contractor, and Terry probably have to do the same thing. If he's gonna do any kind of work, we have to put a written plan in front of people of the step by step.
Yeah, I just sent that today to him. I seen Craig from DNR respond to him. And then Tony was like, well, how much and when, you know? So I'm waiting for that. So I interjected in between that conversation that we need a written plan.
He's still holding on to some of your monies, right?
Yes. So we have to tread softly and creative there
Well, right, I mean, you've hired him to do a job.
that he can't do.
That it's either he gives the money back and find another contract.
Well, we're kind of, it's dollar-wise, and Tim knows that. It's either using this contractor that's 50 to 60,000, doing it that way, and he's only he's one of two in the state who has that equipment to do it. Or otherwise, it's using a mechanical dredging instead of hydraulic,
Yep.
and then that's 1 to 1.5 million. So do we, maybe chop a little bit off the nose, and, I mean, we would like to get that done hydraulically, but, we can't expect people to wait 5 years either.
Yeah, I think he just.
And right now, fall, our water is the best it's been for,
Yeah.
we go, and there's a limit to how deep you can go. I just,
Yes.
the DNR has a 4 to 5 foot that you can go down from sea level, which I still don't understand, but.
Average water.
Yeah.
Water level.
Channel.
So the way it is now, he maybe skim, a few crumbs off, but last fall it was so low that they were churning on mud in the channel. So,
The dogs
now
must
would be a good time to do it anyway. So we can't say, well, we don't want you to do it, the water's too high, So, yeah, I'll get someone together and my hair can't get any whiter.
I think it's just a matter of starting, putting it on paper, and then you build from there. You can always amend that plan one way or the
Yeah.
other.
Mhm. Okay.
And then it's just looking for the approval for you to go ahead and dump it on the 2 acre lot up there.
It'll make good corn.
All right, just a couple other things for cleanup. I'll go ahead and I will make sure I call Angie Mel with the city about the equipment here, to make sure that that's,
Amy, yeah.
is it Amy?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll call
What did you
her.
say? Andy?
I said Angie, I thought it was
Oh,
Angie Mel.
Amy.
Amy Mel, and make sure that, I could have turned around and looked. Remember, is it still up there?
Yeah, today.
Okay. I will call 811. I want to set up an account just for Shorewood Park Sanitary District for digging, so we can get that sign replaced up in the front. I'll make sure I call that
Oh.
tomorrow. Right before I was using my work account, and for some reason, we did hit something. I'd be answering to somebody else that I work for, so I don't want to do that. So I'll set up an account for Shorewood Park and then get those locates done.
Do we want to do the same over at the other entrance at the same time then? Or who do we need to talk to, Michelle and
Yeah, well,
Mike?
we don't own any property over on that end
Yeah.
anymore.
But is that Michelle and Mike's property?
It is on, if you're looking in on the right-hand side, it's
Mhm.
Michelle and Mike, if they would be okay if we put a sign on that side, it'd be worth asking them if somebody wants to approach them. Oh, there you go, grease the wheel.
Grab it on a lot.
Is there any other issues we want to talk about?
I have a question about the sewer extension.
Sure.
If you know where our house is on, the White House on Peterson's Resort. So we have a holding tank and a grinder and a pumping station that's going to the manhole. So a guy just purchased the lot, George Wilkerson, next to us, and so he's planning on building. And he asked if he could tap into my line, because it doesn't sound like there's any other lines going down to the manhole.
Yep.
There's another couple that's looking at the next piece of property, and there's a fourth piece of property. So I'm wondering if all four of these people are gonna ask to tap into the line that we currently have running. And I just don't know how long it's gonna take to do the sewer extension, because I'd like to do my landscaping, my driveway, and get that stuff finished. I don't wanna put in new driveway and then have to dig it all up.
Right. Well, personally, that's your personal main drain, and I don't think it was designed for other people to tap on, even temporarily. Because anything that goes on wrong with that line right now is your responsibility. So it's like a main drain system, just like every one of the houses within our district. The main drain from the house to the street where the public utility is, which is our 8-inch main, is a responsibility of each homeowner. So that was approved, you know, through your building or your contractor, basically just to serve your house. There was other talks of putting more pipe in that area, but that was still the burden of the developer at that particular time. He would have had to, you know, put something together to serve each one of the lots if we would approve that hookup. But at that time, there was only 2 hookups possible because that's what was there before. So it kind of went into that whole gray area. And when you built, you established and took care of one of those hookups right now. So really, there's only one other hookup that can come into our manhole that was grandfathered in during that whole process. So that's why, you know, when they set up the Rush Lake Estates, that's why he invested so much money already into the expansion. He covered a lot of the money to get us over the hump, even just to get over the first process of the facility plan and the original engineering, which is, you know, 90% of what the engineering is going to be done. That's what everybody paid for. That's what the deliverables were before. So for those other people to build, they're going to have either some other temporary system until the expansion is done to get hooked up to a sewer, or, you know, redesign something that everybody else can tie into until we know for sure if this expansion is going to go. We believe, you know, the odds are pretty well. There's a lot of money available there, but it's you know, where's that $500,000 shortfall going to come from? How are the expansion people going to come up with that money, right? And they've done everything they can. There's still a possibility for state funding and some of the other things that are still there.
So has George approached you and talked to you about having him?
He's approached us, and he's actually talked to Terry about tying in, or I actually gave him your number. I think we talked about it briefly.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's your personal main drain. I would be concerned with other people tying in and supporting anybody else that moves in there.
There's probably only 1.25 inches and anything else, there's no way you'd be able to
Yeah.
stand to it.
So right now, you've got a high pressure 1.25 from your grinder tank that dumps into the sewer system.
So 1.25 is
That's all.
enough for one house?
Yeah. That's so basically, he's gonna have to do the same thing that you did.
Yep.
So that'll take that last spot that's available?
That would take the last spot that's available, first come, first served.
Ideally, there should have been a new line put up there, then tied into it, but with the expansion coming, that wasn't, never done, but ideally, that's what would have been done, with a new main line put out that far, and then we tied into it. It wasn't in the cards at that stage of the game, so.
Okay. But in terms of the layout of where things are going to go, because that can help you plan for what we're going to do.
I would have to look at the exact engineering, but I think the easement and the right of way is in the ditch. Basically, that new 8-inch line was gonna come down the ditch, and then
In the actual lot,
I think there was an easement basically that went from the road, or the easement, that current county easement, 5 feet into everybody's property. Is that correct, Dean?
The easements that we were doing were for stubs coming.
Stubs coming the other way?
So it was supposed to be in the county right of way.
I cannot honestly answer the exact question where the pipe we're gonna lay in that area, but I think there was still a question on the design of that.
And I know the resort property, you've got more of a right of way county property in your development there. So I think they anticipated the sewer coming in at some point.
And there was 2 separate designs that they talked about, either tying everything into our existing system, or creating a new force main for all the new homes down our road to the ponds. So that's still yet up in the air, depending on how we want to value engineer and spend the monies coming up in the grants. But I think the original design was to take everything from Rush Lake Estates to the north, and that would almost operate like its own separate system, where it had all its own pumping and substations or pumping stations, and then a new force main out to the ponds. So we'd have 2 force mains coming into the ponds, the original and then new expansion. So they'd almost be like 2 separate zones within the district. Now, there was talk here in the last year or so for value engineering to actually tie you into our system and then dump into our system and then let us take the burden of pumping it out to the ponds. So that's still up in the air depending on how we want to spend the money of that 1.9 million.
Okay, so that part hasn't been completed yet.
No, we have not really decided that yet. So the original plan called for a totally separate system. That's the engineering that was originally designed. Now, there was talk about value engineering, and would it be cheaper just to tie in? Probably eliminate that big pumping station and some of the funds to bring the cost down. And then we asked, can our system still handle that? And based on just some quick numbers by the engineering, they said that could still happen. But if we did that, we would probably ask to update some of our pumping equipment and our controls because we would take on more volume on the existing system. But that's still yet to be worked on.
Yeah, you could very easily shave $250,000 off there, but not having to put in another lift station. And
With a high pressure main going all the way
Right,
up.
and exactly, then improve your existing lift station with some better pumps, probably have a line and stuff, and
Yeah.
then use the existing there, so by far, you'd be way better off to save their $250,000 plus, but they might be more than that even.
May take, I don't know, I didn't get into that conversation too much with Tim, but it was just floating out there. Any other questions?
Well, the trees subject, I was brought up a couple of months ago. I think we're going to take that on case by case with the waivers now that you're going to assign. Something happens unless we may need a professional cleaner and have to rebid again like we did this time. But if somebody signs the waivers like we're talking about, go ahead and, as long as there's two people out there, I would say as long as there's two people out there to help, in case something happens, like I said, do what we used to do, just help each other out, clean everything up, get it taken care of, unless there's a dangerous situation where trees are leaning and you gotta get professional and we'll get bids again.
Yeah, I think that worked out well.
I just have a question about the waiver thing. So, like if I wanted to come and help, I'd have to fill out a waiver.
Correct.
And that's saying, I won't sue you?
You won't sue the park.
Okay, what happened if I sign that and we're out there working and something falls unexpectedly and someone's driving by or a kid on the bike and something happens, how is that covered?
I think it all came down to, and I can share that email that came from the lawyer.
Okay, I'm just trying to be proactive here,
Right,
you know.
right. So if we go back and look at all the other emails, and I did reach out to the lawyer, our insurance covers, if a tree in the park falls down on a piece of property, like a car or park or something like that, we're covered for that through our insurance. But we're not covered for somebody out there, cutting up wood and cut his foot off or cut his finger off. We're not covered for that. Our insurance doesn't cover that. So we don't have any insurance for that. So the waiver, based on what came from the League of Minnesota Cities, you know, that's kind of who we belong to as far as for litigation and kind of that kind of information. They basically, there's a waiver that they provided us that would waive our responsibility or liabilities if somebody else wants to volunteer and work on our property. So that's basically the verbiage that was written into that waiver. So we are covered with our insurance if a tree falls down and it hits somebody's house or a car.
Or a person.
Or I would imagine a person, I would imagine.
Okay, is there what age limit on that? I'm just, you know, I'm playing the devil's advocate, I guess.
I think a lot of common sense comes into play. We're not gonna put a chainsaw into a 10-year-old's hand,
Yes.
right?
No, I was just wondering if that's a stipulation on the
Yeah,
waiver.
you know, I'll just be
I'm not
honest with
trying to
you.
be difficult.
No, I'll be honest with you. My opinion is
Yeah.
that we should get any third-party person, would always be protected, and the liability is always on that contractor, right? But people want to help all around the park,
Yeah,
and they
I
can do
understand
that,
that.
they can do that with a waiver. And the lawyer said that, you know, we could do it with the waiver, so we have to work off the best available
I was just
information.
wondering.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to.
Don't holler at
I'm not yelling at.
Yes, you are.
I'm not yelling at, yeah, I just think that it's all about liabilities, right?
Yeah.
We're always rolling the dice.
Yeah,
Nothing's happened in the 30, 40 years Shorewood Park's been here, so
I'm just a worried grandma.
I know it. I get it, yeah.
Yeah, what we have in place now is something, whereas something has never been in place.
Right.
And we've just gotten lucky for 50 years. So I'm thankful for that, but
Yeah.
it's better than nothing.
I think back to Sue's question though, is there an age, like, you know, can a 10-year-old sign that waiver and go in there and help clear the wood?
There's a parental, there's an underage parental sign-off,
Okay.
separate addendum to the.
Okay.
Yeah, thank
It's
you
the
for.
parental
Oh, good.
discretion.
Yeah, that's what.
So the parent has to sign for the kid, right?
So no, Elmer cannot. Elmer is what, 3,
But
4?
there's still an age limit to that. The parent can't sign off if he isn't, like on a job site. You know, I've worked on a lot of houses. I couldn't have my son work on the job site until he was 18 years old.
Yeah.
So even if I decide to sign a waiver for him with a contractor or a builder or a homeowner, I still couldn't bring my son in until he was an adult.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
guess
kind of
that's
the
more-
statutes when it comes to the children working thing on job sites. And taking down a tree or limbs or any of that stuff, I would consider a job site.
I
You know,
would
safety
concur
first.
with that. I think I could ask our lawyer for some more clarification,
Just to be
Yeah,
safe.
that's,
just to be safe if we want to go down that route, just to clarify what would be the age limit. I have no problem talking to them about
Just
that.
to address a concern from our constituents.
Waiver, age limit. All right. Any other questions? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Oh, there's cookies over there if anyone wants to take cookies home.
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks, everybody. We'll